Hello everyone, my name is Katie Wolf, and for my first book talk, I decided to talk to you about short stories. I chose a short story from a compilation called No Easy Answers, edited by Donald Gallo. In the introduction to this book, Gallo cites a 1995 issue of the St. Louis Dispatch, which stated that our society is, quote, raising ethically illiterate children, end quote, who can't make decisions or tell right from wrong. But Gallo posits that teenagers, and adults who work with them, know that they do, in fact, have a moral compass and ethical standards. While there are teenagers who demonstrate corrupt behaviors, their actions are no more corrupt than those of adults in similar situations. So, this compilation of short stories about fictional teenagers in character testing situations asks readers to consider what it really means to do the right thing. Not all of the characters make the right choice. That's not the point. The point is to, as Gallo puts it, allow readers to judge for themselves the moral and ethical strength of the characters, and to consider how they themselves might behave in such troublesome situations. In this book, as in life, there are no easy answers. I chose to focus on the story called Confession by Gloria D. Miklowitz. The story is set up as a transcript from a police report that details the murder of a boy named Samboy Parks. It centers on a confession from JJ, a 13-year-old boy who, weeks before, found himself a member of a gang of boys who call themselves the Protectors. The group consists of 4 boys, and is led by a boy named Danny, who founded the group as a means of getting revenge for an act of violence that was committed against his younger sister. He forms this gang, but claims that this gang will be different from the others. This gang's purpose will be to protect people. JJ is hesitant to join at first, but feels better when Danny promises the groups won't use weapons, but will use their minds to negotiate and persuade others in order to deal with their problems. Their own brand of vigilante justice. They launch a series of attacks on the real bad guys. They burn and thus eliminate the stash of some known drug dealers. They vandalize the cars of another violent gang whose members specialize in vandalism. JJ reflects that he knows their actions aren't right, but they mean well. And their actions aren't as bad as those in the other gangs, so it was all okay. But Danny brings a gun to one of their outings, one meant to target Samboy Parks and his gang, known as the Pitbulls. Though he claims the gun is unloaded, JJ gets cold feet and asks to go home. The other boys beg him to stay, and he does, for fear of losing his friends. But the raid, predictably, goes wrong. The other gang members, including Samboy, catch the Protectors in the act, surround their car, and Danny pulls out a gun from his waistband in order to defend himself. Samboy ends up dead, and the story ends with JJ, horrified at the blood that has splattered on his face and shirt. He apologizes to the officer taking his statement, saying, quote, "That's the whole story. We didn't mean to hurt anyone, honest. We just wanted to make the hood better, safer, honest. I'm sorry." This story, along with others in the book, is definitely one that students will enjoy. There are no illustrations, and the content is a bit mature, so I would say this book is appropriate for 7th and 8th graders. It's written simply, in a vernacular in which people naturally speak, and the fact that it's very short, about 13 pages, is another appealing factor. There is no lengthy or complicated prose to deal with in this story, so the reading level is simple, but the content remains interesting and relatable for older readers who might struggle with more difficult texts. I also enjoyed this story because it offered a lot of points for discussion, which I'll talk more about in a moment. Overall, the story is entertaining as well as academically valuable, and it definitely fits in with the theme of the book, and something I think many teenagers will relate to. There are no easy choices. I think this story offers some really great opportunities for in-class discussion. JJ's choices, both to be in the gang and then to testify against his best friends, are difficult ones for any person to make, let alone a 13-year-old boy. The story could also be a good introduction to the concept of anti-heroes, as well as a discussion of the subjectivity of words like good and bad. The story also fits in well with Common Core reading standards. It would make a good text for students to practice determining themes, noticing character development, and learning about plot structure and how the author drives a plot forward. This story could also be a great anticipatory text for a longer work that centers on an anti-hero or a character who has to make difficult choices or break the law to do the right thing. For example, The Scarlet Letter's Hester Prynne, The Crucible's John Proctor, or even The Giver's Jonas. This story practically begs to be accompanied by some kind of writing assignment. Teachers could ask students to write their own narratives about a time they had to make a difficult choice, or ask students to put themselves in JJ's shoes and journal about whether or not they agree with his choices and what they might have done differently. Overall, this story offers a main character to whom students can relate, a young boy just trying to do the right thing amid all these outside pressures, and a storyline that will keep them engaged. It's a simple read, but one that won't be too babyish because of its more mature content. I think this or any of the stories from Gallo's collection could be very useful as part of a reading curriculum.